I need not say nothing else. He hit the nail right on the head. That was Dale Hansen, WFAA sports anchor and sports director in Dallas, been there for a long time. He said everything that needed to be said. And again, there still needs to be some change in all different communities. Joining right now to talk about that is the founder of Game Changer, Sheppard, and also we want to bring in San Diego law enforcement officer, Dustin Hollins. Gentlemen, thanks for coming in this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I thought it would be important to play that, the Dale Hansen comment, before this segment because we're still talking about, improving our communities, improving our relationships with the people on the street versus the law enforcement team, because that's how all this got started in the beginning. This is the reason why Kaepernick took a knee in the beginning, for the inequality that's going on and injustices going on around the country. And some way, somehow, it got spurred off into the military, got spurred off and disrespected the flag. No. Me personally, I understand exactly what Kaepernick is saying. However, I would have done it a different way, because the way he did it is always taken away from his message, and that's what's happening today. It's taken away from the real message. But the message is still there, how we can improve or try to improve relationships, and that's what Game Changers tries to do.
No, we're not trying. We're doing it.
Just explain it.
So 3 hours before the start of a sporting event or an entertainment event, we get together, about 20 of us, to conduct moderated focus groups. We have 15 members of the non-law enforcement community, which can include judges and elected officials, people like myself, yourself, and then 5 to 6 members of law enforcement. And we sit down and we talk about problems. We talk about solutions together. We eat dinner together. And then when we're done talking about problems and solutions, we then go to the game together and spend human bonding time together. And Officer Hollins has participated on a number of different occasions. I want to say this. I've spent close to 300 hours over the last 10 months with various members of law enforcement, chiefs, lieutenants, sergeants, deputies. I've never spent one moment with an anthem police officer. I've never spent one moment with a salute the flag officer. They don't exist because there's no need for it to exist. If you protest, and especially if you do so peacefully, and in this case even silently, that's what freedom looks like.
Mm-hmm.
That's what freedom looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the events itself, which I think is the most unique thing about it, is that you bring officers in with people from the community to hold dialogue. I'm sure some of the conversations will be heated, though.
they are, but I mean, we're talking about things like race. We're talking about things like racial profiling. We're talking about mental health issues, and it hits home with a lot of people, but we're not tweeting one another. We're having the courage to sit down and look each other in the eye and say some things that may make other people uncomfortable, but there's not going to be any understanding unless that takes place, and sometimes that understanding doesn't take place during the course of the 2.5-hour focus group. It takes place during the game.
Mm-hmm.
When we leave that focus group and go to the game, I mean, that's where really the magic takes place. Not to sound corny, but you have an opportunity to speak with someone one-on-one. It's a more casual setting. And, I mean, that's what we do at sporting events. We talk to one another. We bond with one another. And so we've included the magnet that is sports, whether it's collegiate or professional, to bring people together and come to some conclusions and come to some solutions. And we include elected officials and lawmakers because it's very important that they're a part of this program.
Dustin Hollins, Officer Dustin Hollins, thanks for coming in. For you guys, meaning officials, law enforcement officials, I'm sure you get tired of hearing all you guys are bad. You see a couple of videos of this person, that person, and police suck. Police are you hear,
Absolutely.
But it's the same thing that you guys take when civilians say don't clump us all into one group. You guys are saying the same thing. Don't clump us all into one group.
Exactly. Yes. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Speaking to it.
So yeah, that's been a very big problem that I've seen. I've been on for about 12 years now, and it's very frustrating when the community just say, don't lump us all in one group. And I'm saying the same thing, like, well, you're lumping all officers into one group. We're all different, we're all human, and most of us are here to help.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you say when you hear the phrase, well, if the good officers will report the bad officers, we wouldn't have this problem?
We do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we do. I don't see this problem. I haven't seen this problem in 12 years where I've had an officer where I felt like they went overboard or did something racially motivated, because obviously if I saw that, I would say something, but I've never had to do that. So I feel that most of these issues, as far as good officers reporting to bad officers. A lot of that's happening in the East Coast or Midwest or somewhere, not in this part of the region of the country that I see.
Now, you've been to some of these events with Game Changers?
I've been to about 3.
The 3 of them? What have you taken away from it? Give me some of the stuff that you've taken and people have shared with you that stuck with you.
I see a lot of light bulbs come on. So that's been my reward. That's been my treat to go to these events. That a lot of people who come to these events from the community, they're all hot off of TV shows and law off of Facebook and all that good stuff. And they actually hear from officials what the law really is and what's going through our mind and why we're doing what we're doing. I see a lot of light bulbs come on and go, oh, you know what, that makes sense. Because when I bring up the example of I have a family, I have kids at home, I have stuff to go to, and I have the obligation to come home every night, people start putting themselves in my shoes now, and they're starting to realize, wow, okay, and I got a split second to make a decision most of the time. So it's been a rewarding events.
I don't think anybody takes away from what you guys do on a daily basis. When I say you guys, I'm clumping you all right now, men and women in the law enforcement business. I don't think anybody, to a man, discredits what you guys do and what you're up to. But I think when you come in an event like this with Game Changer and you're bringing in people in the community, they're sitting down with you and they're releasing their frustration. Obviously, you're going to go ahead and defend it for a little bit, but then you also share your frustration to them. I think that's where the thing starts building.
Absolutely. There's a lot of building process. Like I said, I've been to 3 events, and all 3 times it's pretty much gone down to the same discussion. But it's been a very good, positive process.
We're talking Game Changers with founder Sean Sheppard and also Officer Dustin Hollins right here on the CS Key Show and San Diego Sports Leader, the Mighty 1090. You can follow Sean on Twitter at Game Changer Sean, and of course you can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at CS Key Show. What are some of your next events coming up, Sean?
We have an event on October 14th at USD. But CS, I wanted to say something real quick. Officer Hollins brought up a great point. One of the things that the media does not share, and various agencies don't share. They don't share enough when they do get rid of officers.
That's why when he said that, it surprised me. Yeah.
So we had a Game Changer event. The district attorney had attended, and one of the things that she took away from that particular focus group was, we do need to do our part to build up more public trust and let the public know when there are officers that we do fire, because we don't hear that. What we do hear in other parts of the country, by and large, is this officer was moved from one place to another, wasn't fired, and then committed some egregious act. When the reality is that 2 to 5% that shouldn't be in law enforcement, a lot of them are getting dismissed, and we don't hear about it.
And see, that would be a key. I know you can't do anything, Officer Hollins, to change that because you got to follow protocol too. But that would be a key, because when you said that to me, it did surprise me. Because I just under the impression, and it's just me personally, that Pookie get arrested for shooting somebody, he going to jail. Officer White gets arrested or gets caught shooting somebody, he's still going to work the next day. And we don't hear about that.
And I don't want to mention any names, but there has been several.
Well, you can say, ain't nobody listen.
Millions like that. There have been several officers in this county who's been arrested, who are doing prison time, who have been did things that violated crimes, who are now in prison, lost their homes, lost everything, retirement. So there's examples out there. If people just did the research and actually did look for stuff like that, they'll find it. It's public record.
What's one of the biggest hurdles, you being out there, and you say you've been on the force for 12 years, what's one of the biggest hurdles that you've seen or that you run up against that you just constantly just want to get that myth out the way?
Several, but the biggest myth is that I'm there to hurt them instead of help them. That hurts me the most, because I work with children right now in high school, and when I first got there, the biggest thing that hurt me was when the whole NWA movie. They thought it was funny to disrespect me by F the police and all that stuff. And they really understand I'm from that community. I'm with them. I'm there to help them. It was a very big rewarding thing. But the biggest thing I'd like to just get thrown out is that when we show up, that we're just there to throw people in jail and hurt them instead of trying to resolve the situation, which is what we're there for.
Right. That's what you got called for.
Yeah, we got called there. We didn't just magically appear there. We got called there, and we're here to, we don't know what's going on. We have to make sure the scene's safe and everything's taken care of. And if people need to go to jail, then people need to go to jail. But I try to be as transparent as possible, and that's where I think the break in communication is with some people.
And I think that's where these events with Game Changer is going to, as you said, change the game, so to speak, because the communication is key. Not talking at somebody, but talking to them. Because when you're talking at somebody, right away people shut down. They don't hear anything. All they're going to do is defend, put a shield up. You talk to them. Their ears open up, their mind opens up, they're more susceptible to what you're trying to say. And I think when you sit down with people like that at the event, you tell me, because you go to events all the time, Sean, I think people will get more or less educated on the other side.
It is a tremendously educational experience for everybody involved. I mean, even people who don't necessarily want to be there, you will glean something from your experience. I mean, we've had former NFL players attend. Kasim has attended several times. We have chiefs of police. We have border patrol. So we have everybody in the room, and it starts out slowly, but once we put out that first talking point, the conversations unfold organically. And to Officer Hollins' point, there are a number of different topics that we see that are common over and over and over again, and that tells a story as to what's most important to the community, law enforcement, and outside of law enforcement.
When you say that, what are the topics that you hear about all the time?
Mental health issues, profiling, communication, racism, unequal treatment, traffic stops. People don't know what to do. There is no standard behavior in what to do on a traffic stop. And Officer Hollins had a great point. He educated the community as to what he's looking for when he gets out of his car. And if you're moving around, that's putting him on edge, and understandably so. I just came back from use of force training yesterday with the National City Police Department. We put in 6 different scenarios. Domestic violence, which is the #1 call.
That's right. You get called every day, right?
Right. The domestic violence, people just ain't getting along at home, you know? And you have to put yourself in that situation, and most people will never be in that situation. To come and bring law and order to a situation that's highly passionate, heated, there could be weapons involved. It's a life-changing experience to see what they have to deal with. And at the same time, as community members, we want them to deal with it from a standpoint of procedural justice. Do it the right way.
And I'm sure, Officer Hollins, that's come up a couple of times in the events that you've been to. When that comes up, what kind of a discussion do you have with people? Because there are a number of things. I'm not a police officer, but I just imagine there's a number of things going through your mind as you approach this particular scene.
Absolutely. In 12 years, I've seen a lot. So we get a call. We don't know what we got to make sure we get there safely. Our main job, obviously, is to be safe and go home.
Go home, right?
A lot of these problems that we get called to are problems that have been festering for about 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, and they want us to fix it in 5-10 minutes. So we got to just remember, there's a lot of stuff going through our mind when we get there, and we got to, we're thinking we're going to get ambushed. Who's going to be there? Are there gang members involved? Is there what's going on? And and when you got some emotional things going on between husband and wife, and they're heated over whatever they're being upset about. Everybody's right. Everybody's right, and our job is to be down the middle of the fence and just calm the situation. And because of the law of California, somebody's going to jail if it got physical. So then you got kids watching their parents go to jail, and we're the bad guys automatically up top. You got a 5-year-old that thinks we're enemies because we're taking dad to jail. But yeah, a lot of stuff goes through my mind when we get to see.
So in Sean starting this event, Game Changers, I mean, for you, when you walk away from it, do you feel much better in the communication that you've had with people in the community?
Yes, because it's a start. You got to start somewhere.
Right.
It might be small, but it's a good start. And I give my numbers out. I'm open to the community. I tell them if you have a question about something, I'm there. So yeah, it's been very, very positive experience.
Before we get you out of here, when's the next event for people to?
October 14th at USD, right before a USD football game. You can check us out on GameChanger1.org. That's the number 1, GameChanger1.org.
Of course, you can follow you on Twitter too at GameChangerSean on Twitter. So if people want to contact you there too. The events are free for people to come in.
They're free. We serve you lunch. The game tickets are free, and USD was kind enough, the concession guy liked what we were doing so much, he even gave us vouchers to go eat at the game for free. So it's like, people understand that this is something that is sorely needed in our country. It's been needed for a long time, but the current times, it may feel even more so now. And I feel like this is an answer to what the NFL players are kneeling about.
Which is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on this Sunday too, particularly because of the things that were going on. Gentlemen, appreciate you coming in today. Good luck with the event on October 14th. If you want to find out more, GameChanger1.org, or of course you can follow Sean on Twitter, Game Changer Sean. Of course, you can follow me and the show on Twitter and Instagram at CSK Show. Much appreciate you tuning in. Keep in mind, coming up after this, Carolina versus the Patriots. I was going to make a pick, but. And at 1 o'clock, the Giants versus the Bucks. Two sad sack teams. So if you're bored at 1 o'clock, you can watch that. Or you can get ready for the dodgeball tournament next week. It's the CSK Show on San Diego Sports Leader, the Mighty 1090.